next up is Archie Donovan. Archie's our data manager, is his official title, but he's as part of the INFOMAR team, therefore he's liable to be asked to do anything. And he's been between working on the vessel and running around. Off you go.
If you hear any whistles or anything like that, I'm breaking into the teeth of my mother-in-law. The key to this is that I'm kind of lucky, because, and I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but I'm going to do is a run around all the other people are going to be talking about the various projects that we're doing and the elements too. We're talking about the data and the integration of the data in the various projects, how we try and release the data. So I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, so I'll mention various projects that we're going to be talking about and stuff like that, but not in depth. The key to what we're doing is the INFOMAR website, and there are links from that, from the marine website and from the GSI site. And then the actual data is available on the secure HTTP on Jetstream. You don't need to know all that sort of stuff. The links are there, just follow the links to get everything. Yet again, the key step was the decision in February 2007 to make our data free and freely available to anybody and everybody. That's not carried out or carried on by Europe. I'm sure people will attest to that. But it is, it's very valuable in the sense of this project. That there is where that secure HTTP site will bring you to. You're getting the actual data there. So I advise anyone to go and have a look. You can data mine the data, query it, do all the various things. I'm going to bore you to death with how you do it. That's the INFOMAR site and the various links. And we try to put as much as possible on that in relation to how we do things, why we do things, things that are happening, the latest things. So it's the key website as far as we're concerned for this project. There are links, lots of links for everything else, but that's the key website to keep up to date. That's our GSI site, and obviously you can get back to it from, in that is the online mapping section. So from all of the sites, you need to actually get links, there's ways into the site, but you're effectively going back to that same site. There's the Marine Institute site. So I had to search myself a bit to find it, but there is a link in there. So you go services, INFOMAR, and that's a link back into our site as well, and our data sites. We try to provide, when the bays are finished, there's a big question mark when something is finished. But when a bay, in terms of coverage, we regard as being finished, we try to provide a DVD, make a DVD for the bays. We've done about 5 bays so far. But all the bays will be done eventually when they are all finished. Put them on a DVD and they'll be freely available as well. That's an example of, if you load the Galway Bay DVD, what you see. Basically, you can go through the various data. And there's an example of the Planetary Command Bay, the DVD, if you loaded that. It's the exact same interface, but the data stored will be particular to that particular data. All of our data is on the National Geophysics Data Center in the US. It's different, different applications require different types of data. So this particular application, what they get is the raw and raw data. They're not getting processed data. They're getting just pure raw data, and that's what they look for, and that's what they load. That's their repository worldwide. And if you look at Ireland over the line, it's fairly dense and intensive. So they have coverage of all of our raw data available via their website. And of course, they don't get it online straight away after we do it. There's a complete time lag because the UKHO have exclusive rights to the commission. The Hydrographic Office, yet again, all of our data goes to the hydrographic office for integration into hydrographic charts. The data, yet again, that they look for is cleaned CARIS data. So it's just a different variety of the same data. There's a very bad photograph on the wall right of the Dublin chart that was produced this year. But it's not really the chart that I wanted to go on about, it's the actual sources. So when you look in the sources, you'll actually see Irish government agencies, sort of, anything down here in Cork itself, in the CMRC. Our data is integrated into the, we already talked to the idea of bringing home to people about the real map of Ireland. So in 3D sense, we have the map of Galway, and it's well worth your while to go get the 3D glass and have a look at this stuff, particularly the ones, the largest, which you can see in 3D due to the colour on it. And there's a real map for Dublin as well. All of our data has fed into European initiatives, and in this instance, it's Janine was going to talk about who's actually going to give that one at the minute, but somebody has it covered. So you'll get the little. It feeds into the GSI project, we're step off that project. And you can see that it's not just, there are 26 marine geological and geophysical data centres, there are 17 European maritime countries. So these are big projects that we're feeding into. But if we didn't have this data as a natural baseline, as a source, we couldn't be in there. And you might say, what the hell are they doing? But it's in the European sense that we actually have to reduce the DPI, the resolution of our data to feed in, because we can produce it at a much higher level, but there has to be a standardization right across the whole of Europe. Not everybody's at the same level of maturity. So there's an example of our data stitched in to the DTM model of Europe. And it's quite a considerable jump for, given the size of our also the ModNet have done geology, and it's the maturity of geology, and I don't steal somebody's thunder here, so I'll just rip through this. But you see, that was the collective wisdom of the geology offshore. And you can see it gets better. The set of population determination. The more information you have, the better the map gets of what you're doing. Our data feeds into classification. Various different classifications in there. Oceanographic models, oceanographic maps, seabed geology, fisheries, maritime policy, infrastructure. Our data is integrated in the OLIC software called Norwegian, much the same. It's the very first, it was the very first and the only one at the minute, because the other one will still come to us to get the data to actually integrate it into their products. You can see that ours is a multi-beam sensor. All the other stuff in the main is single beam. Our stat there is really dense, putative, because it is dense data in comparison to the single beam. Our data now is feeding into the Esri, the ArcInfo, and ArcView products. They're doing an ocean base map. Our data is being integrated in there. Yet again, there'll be varying levels of resolution for how they integrate our data, because they have to show it in a worldwide European sense, so they don't want it all, a big blob that takes 10 minutes to over just the Irish bit, because we're doing too light density. Couldn't talk to this is all one man. Our data is embedded in the Alcantara project, which is a project tying onshore and offshore, which is a great interest to us, and anything in that endeavour is well worth our while to get involved in. Our data is integrated in 3D modeling software that we have, and geovisually we use, I know the British Geological Survey, they use geovisually as well. The stats about downloads are kind of interesting, and this is courtesy of Ron, not me. And the user profile is actually changed. We're getting, like, we've had 55,000 blah blah blah, and unique users. And like in terms of download, people's downloading 3 terabytes a day. When you're talking about using the web, it's a lot. 3 terabytes is a lot of data to download on the web. You can extract all sorts of conclusions from this type of stuff. But you can actually see that the stuff changes over time. Which is an idea here. And like who's using the data there. So as you would expect, Ireland would be several. You would expect the Irish people to be using it. The Polish one on the top there in 2011, that's because they opened up a branch there and they suddenly realised that we can get a data set that's free that we can start building our infrastructure around. So they're using it as a test bed for using our data. And obviously the UK are using a lot of the data. The sectors, that's interesting. Research initially was the big thing, because they would have all pulled it in 2007 when it became free. They would have all pulled it down to the blue in the lower one on the right side. They would have all pulled it down initially. And then private industry, I suppose, would have got sort of an knee-jerk reaction. They would think, okay, somebody's going to rescind this free policy, so let's pull it all down immediately. And then they realised, God, you pull it down, bloody hell, what are we going to do with it all? So much. So it equalised once they realised that we're here to stay, and the data is being updated, and the funding hasn't gone as yet, fingers crossed, and the data is still available. They don't have to have that knee-jerk reaction trying to pull everything down all at once. But it's still heavily balanced on education and research are the big ones there we see coming out. And private industry, what they're doing is they pull, I imagine that they pulled down an awful lot of the base data that they wanted, and now they're only getting down the updates, I would assume. I'd like to think that that's what they're doing. And that's the type of data, all the various types. So you can only do this sort of stuff because we've been at it since 2007. Previous to this, we had no real idea of how the data was being used. But you can extract, as I say, any amount of conclusions from looking at these. Bathymetry and vector data is still featuring quite heavily. Obviously, bedrock, geotiffs and offshore reports are quite a big thing. So we've put a big effort into in the last year it probably wouldn't have been our forte initially, but we put a huge effort last year into updating all the reports and iterating back through reports that weren't properly finalised and stuff. I had to finalise them, and they're all available via the web now. Occupation of the type of people. Environment, still energy, environment, petroleum and exploration. Obviously, you can see that as different things happen offshore, different elements come back in, because there is a lot of talk about petroleum and if you're in docking and stuff like that, rigs and stuff. So people don't need data. They're kind of interesting to look at, these stats. But, not exactly bedtime reading. And the people that do it, and then of course up the top there you have on Google. But they're the people who actually make the whole thing possible. And without them, none of this would happen. And that's it. I assumed there was going to be questions, but Kuhn said hold off on the questions. So it's probably a good idea to hold off on the questions.